Alright everybody, hello and welcome as always. I'm Sean, this is In The Mix, episode 96. Happy Monday, wherever in the world you're watching from. I hope you had a great weekend. I cannot wait to get stuck in today because we're celebrating one particular player, one very, very special player, our captain, the Wolf. We're going to jump in, I'll go through, I'll show you guys why. So first, before we get stuck into it, our schedule hasn't been fantastic. Of course, in Friday's episode, we beat Portsmouth 3-1 and then a 0-0 draw with Reading after going down to 10 men. The Wolf, who we'll talk about a little bit further in a moment, sent off in that one. We then lost 1-0 to Birmingham in a game where we had 100 chances to win. You can kind of see here from some of the match ratings, some 6.3, 6.5, 6.4s in there. We just couldn't hit the back of the net, and that was our big problem. They got a kind of scrappy goal after an hour. We pushed in the last 30 minutes and just couldn't find one. We rotated quite heavily for the game against Huddersfield a couple of days later in the FA Cup. Pretty much our entire backup squad played in that one. They did force a draw after a 0-0 draw against Huddersfield. We did lose that replay 1-0, which was fine. I'm not super worried about that. I think if we had gone through, we'd have played Liverpool or something, which we wouldn't have got much further in. And really, given that we're so close to the title picture and title race in the championship, I kind of wanted to focus on that competition anyway. So I wasn't that upset with it. And then we played Wigan away from home, a 1-1 draw. Wigan are just one of those teams that we consistently seem to struggle to get good results against. They've got some good players, but they're not that great. Even back when we were in League One and they were managed by Gary Neville, we struggled to get results against them. It's been the same the last two seasons in the championship as well. Thankfully, Kamara came off the bench and managed to score from the penalty spot to get us that equalising goal. But it doesn't have us in the best little run of form. When we started last episode, we had a great run where we'd had all those wonderful, wonderful wins and results. And now, when you look at our last five, we haven't won in the last five, and we've only picked up 3 points in that period. So, big pressure today to beat Fulham, who've also kind of struggled a little bit, dropped down to 4th spot, and Bristol, who've dropped down to 6th. If we look at the league table, we are still in 3rd. We are still within striking distance of that 2nd place automatic promotion spot. Cardiff currently above us on goal difference, but West Brom just absolutely destroying it at the moment. They're 12 points clear of us. We can bring that back to a 9-point deficit with some good results today. One for our game in hand, and then we do actually play them in a little bit as well. But if we lose, potentially Fulham's going to go above us. If we lose against Bristol, potentially they'll go above us as well. So a very keen, critical episode to set up the remainder of this season. But that's not all that it's about. It's actually going to be largely focusing on the Wolf, because if he plays in both games today, and I realise that I'm kind of jinxing it now, and he'll probably get sent off against Fulham and not get to play, he will become the leading appearance maker for the side, taking over from Joel Connolly, the right back we picked up from Burnley, back in the lower divisions. You can see 144 appearances, 145 is the record. If he starts in both games, which he should, he will be our all-time assist player or appearance maker for the side. If you look at his career stats, he did join us at the end of the 2026-27 season on a free transfer. Didn't make any appearances because we got him just before the season ticked over to 27-28. Our final season in League One, he had 40 appearances, 1 goal, 9 assists, and 5 Player of the Match awards for a 7.36 match rating. He was probably our best performer the first season in the championship as well, a 7.38 match rating after 43 appearances, 8 goals chipped in with, 6 assists, and 5 Player of the Match awards again. Last season, he did struggle a little bit, part of the reason because of this man, Mohamed Hosseini, who came in and was playing in the same role, same structure, and was a little bit more complete a player joining the club, but he still did manage to make 37 appearances. Didn't get any goals, assists, or Player of the Match awards. A lot of those appearances will have been off the bench, but still a 6.83, still very reliable as a squad player, and this season he's been starting again, 24 appearances so far for the division. Only 2 assists, but he is a deep line playmaker, don't forget. Don't expect to see massive goals or assist columns here, but a 7.002 match rating. And during that time, he has won a tremendous amount. He, of course, made his club debut in 2027. Like we said, was in a bunch of different team of the weeks, I should say, in League One. Scored his first club goal later that season. Was the Player of the Year from our supporters group. Was part of the side that won the League One title. And then was named as Player of the Year in that 2028 season. So absolutely magnificent for him. Really hit the ground running in the championship as well. Was in Team of the Weeks, Young Players of the Month. Was inducted into our overall best 11, was the Player of the Year again for the 2nd year running, won the Young Player of the Year for the championship. And as I read this back and look at 2029, I definitely should have been starting him in that 2029-2030 season. He was coming off the back of an award-winning series. I probably just ruined his momentum and his development by dropping him from the side, but that's fine. I've got to learn with these things. He was named vice-captain that year as well. Was then named captain at the end of the season. And last year, despite limited appearances, was still in our seasonal best 11. Now, he is by default a deep lying playmaker on support. We've been using him as a deep lying playmaker on defend the majority of his time. He can't tackle that well, but 17 passing is fantastic. You can see all of his different traits here. He's pretty much over double figures for all of the key ones. The ones you see here in green, even the secondary ones, tackling, anticipation, positioning, he's very, very good at. Still only 22 years of age. It's crazy to think that we picked him up as a 17-year-old. Liverpool letting him go for a free. He's our captain. He's been magnificent. And I think the best thing that we can do for him is get 6 points in this episode to celebrate the Wolf as his career continues. He's still only 22. I'm behaving now like he's like a 35-year-old player at the end of his playing stint. But I think given that we started with like no history at all, when history is briefly made in terms of like leading scorers, leading appearance makers, all that sort of great stuff, I think we do need to call it out a little bit more as we continue to grow and not just develop the series, but develop the club and all of that sort of stuff. He will, of course, start at that number 6 position, really anchoring that midfield for us, just being our Mr. Reliable, Mr. Consistent, with the captain's armband on, leading a very, very young side, which he has done for a good few seasons now. And really, I could think of no better game to be actually playing than against Fulham, trying to jump back into that automatic promotion spot and potentially bring him Premier League football before his career at Isle of Man winds down. So we'll go through this a little bit differently. We are at home, so we're going to go with our attacking structure. We're going to push forward a little bit more. It does mean the Wolf will play in his preferred role, which is support as a deep line playmaker. It does mean our fullbacks will push on a little bit further as well. But we're going to go with Kubis in goal, Sigurdsson and Escobar as the defensive partnership. Still working on being ball-playing defenders. They haven't quite nailed it down just yet. Goodlife at left back, Ben Shop at right back, Petrovic and Ilic as the wingers ahead of them. Madrigal will play alongside the Wolf as a Messiah. We are trying to bring in a Messiah this transfer window. I'll go through that a little bit before the next game. Aguirre will play at the 10 and Alta Miranda will lead the line up top. I need everybody in good form. I need 6 points. We desperately need to turn some of these big, massive top-of-the-table clashes into wins for us. Not just to get that 3 points, but to get ourselves 3 points gap between us and the nearest teams around us. Looking at the Fulham lineup, they've got some very good players. Still some players that are still playing despite being, probably 31. We'll look at George Bello here, who they picked up from Atlanta United, 29 years of age now. Has had quite the career since leaving Atlanta or starting the series at Atlanta. Goes to Bayern Munich, then Chelsea for £55 million. Then $10 million to Dynamo Kiev randomly after a couple of loan spells while at Chelsea, then to Southampton for $26 million, and now at 29 years of age at Fulham for 14.5. He looks to be a very good player. Mark Gay, who I think I'm pronouncing that horribly, a 30-year-old Ghanaian international. Ivory Coast international, wrong flag. Another Chelsea product comes through. He played at PSG for a bit, then Southampton, West Brom, Swansea. He's been around quite a bit since the save has started, but he's now the Fulham captain and will likely see out his career in that back line. They've got Belmonte, an ex-Argentine youth international, anchoring midfield, 32 years of age. They picked him up in 2029, it looks like, from Liverpool. He looks very, very solid. Wonderful mental attributes. It's rare to see every single trait above a 12. Physically, looks all right. Technically, nothing super special, but you can kind of see why Fulham have one of the better sides in the division. They've got a debutant here, Brian Rescalvo, a right winger that it looks like they've picked up from Newcastle in the Premier Division. £18.75 million value. We just can't compete with any of that. And 17 pace, 18 agility. He'll be one to keep an eye out for. Over on the other side, they've got Jose Juan Macias, Mexican international, now 31 years of age. Looks like he comes through Chivas Guadalajara in the start of the database. He's been at Everton for a good few seasons and now has been at Fulham for a good few years as well. And he is their leading average rating for the season and their top goal scorer and their leading assist maker. So he's having a fantastic season. Fulham are very, very good. I think they sold a player during the last off-season for £50 million or something crazy like that. And we're going to have to be at our best to beat them. But I think going attacking, I think being at home is going to help us. And if we're going to go down in this one, we're at least going to go down swinging. I think always giving ourselves the best opportunity to go forward and be an attacking side in these lineups is always a good way to do it. Petrovic has picked up a knock. It's the first real highlight that we've seen. Thankfully, Dorba is on the bench and can play that role. It is a step down in terms of player quality, but at least we're not going down to 10-man. Assertively, we're going to say I have faith in you. We're only inside the opening 10 minutes here. It's not the best start that we could have hoped for. No highlights yet for either side. We're into the last 10 minutes. I'm going to use Get Creative because if we can try and snag something before half-time, it'll give us a lead to defend. But we haven't seen much from Fulham yet either, but they have had 4 shots around target. We're yet to have a shot on target, which I think is the issue at the moment. We're going to, I think, make a slight tactical tweak. We're going to go in at the half-time break without a shot on target. So 5 shots, none on target, 46% of the ball despite playing at home. They've had 4, 3 and 54. I think from the dressing room we can say assertively, far from pleased. Everyone seems fired up, which is good. We're going to make a tactical tweak and go to our positive structure. It's a little bit deeper and it does retain possession a little bit more. and we might give it 15 minutes. If this works out and we start performing well, we'll leave it. If it doesn't, it at least sets us up to go back to attacking for the last 20 minutes or so and try and see if we can force through some sort of winner. We're through the hour mark now and we have had quite a few shots, so I think we are improving with that tactical tweak. If we sort everyone by average rating here, Dorb has not had a good game since he came on. Madrigal is struggling. Bring on Christian Hendy. Alta Miranda struggling as well. I might bring on Kamara. We're just going to go based on match ratings for this one, I think. Easiest way to do it. Let's passionately say our faith in you. Get out there and make a difference. And then we're also going to use our Get Creative shout with about 25 minutes remaining. They've got a free kick here. Macias puts it in. It's a header from Baldwin and he's offside, thankfully. First highlight that we've really seen ends with a shot on target. The goal gets ruled out for offside. Looking around the division, we would we'd stay at third, but Bristol City had leapfrog and Cardiff had dropped back down. Not sure what their result is now, but we're into the last 10 minutes. We're going to use our demand more shout here. See if we can't push on in the last few minutes and try and get ourselves an opportunity. 2 minutes to be added on here. Everyone still seems focused, but we haven't had any highlights. We're through that time now, and it's pretty much one of the more boring games I think we've had this season. Very, very tense. We did bring it back in the second half. 10 shots, 4 on target, 44% possession. They had 8, 4, and 56. Neither side really able to get a breakthrough. Assertively, you're unlucky today. Let's go with that, and let's assertively tell the defence. Happy with solid defensive work, just because I want to try and keep them as happy as humanly possible. 3 points would have been massive for us in that one, but if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. We do drop down to 4th spot. It looks like Cardiff got a late equaliser against Wigan. So they stay on 59 points, but ahead of us on goal difference. Bristol City now join in on 59 points as well, also plus 20 goal difference. So starting to put away some of these sides when we win is going to be very important in the run home. And they had a big win, a 4-0 victory over Port Vale, who were down to 10 men after 58 minutes. Fulham stay on 58 points, Stoke on 56, Huddersfield on 56, Brentford on 53, a little bit further back, but it's still incredibly tight in that playoff picture. Petrovic has a pulled calf muscle. That's not great before the game against Bristol. And you can see here, youthful FC Isle of Man draw with Fulham. Aguirre gets the Man of the Match award, a 7.2 match rating, but 7.2 is pretty low, to be honest. It kind of, I think, shows how stagnant a game it really was. We do now have another massive fixture against Bristol in 2 days. I'm going to use a rest day. So Petrovic we know is going to be out. Dorber will come in. And we're also probably going to put maybe Vizcanyan on the bench. I've got to leave one space at the moment due to homegrown player rules. I'm going to give everyone a rest day that is expected to start in that game against Bristol just to get everyone's conditioning back up over 90%. You can see there's a couple here on 79, 82, 75, whatever else. We do ask a lot of these players in our existing shape and structure. But again, it's another home game. So I think I want to go attacking from the off and really go after it against the Bristol City side that's in some pretty good form. Okay, so not exactly what I thought was going to happen. The match against Bristol City has been postponed due to a waterlogged pitch at our home ground. It'll be played again in February, which isn't ideal. So we might pivot. We might do 2 different things. We might go and have a look at the transfer window as it closes. We're not... I'll just walk you guys through this because I think that'll be way easier. At the moment, we're not looking to actually bring anybody in this transfer window. We had a brief opportunity to maybe look at bringing Messiah in, but it didn't quite work out the way we'd hoped to. What we are doing is we're keeping an eye on all of the players under the age of 20 that are going to have contracts up at the end of the season from Premier League sides, which is this list that you can see here of guys that we're not really super fussed on current ability, but their potential is quite high. So you can see some of these guys that are less than 5-star potential. I'm not really worried or interested in them. So we're going to cancel the assignments for them and remove them from the shortlist. There's 4 that are probably going to come through. Hopefully we'll get those scouting reports before the next match. But then what we will have is a list of a whole bunch of different players whose contracts expire at the end of the season. Now, I'm not going to offer them contracts too early because sometimes doing that actually triggers automatic extensions from their owner club at the moment. We're just going to wait until maybe later in the season, maybe a month to go, and then potentially offer them, short-term deals to try and bring them across. Like if we went to Andrew Porritt now, he's happy to join, but if we were to offer him a contract, there's potential that might leave Bournemouth with an opportunity to trigger an automatic contract extension, which does occasionally happen with youth contracts. Doesn't look like he's got any bonuses or clauses, but I don't think that's always necessarily written down in someone's deal if they happen to offer him a deal. The idea behind this is that we'll bring in a whole bunch of players that still have potential but perhaps aren't ready for first team football. And what I want to try and get for next season is we've got a couple down there now in the development centre, players that we're trying to loan out. I want to try and get like a full squad in our under-23 side for the first time next season, regardless of whether we're in the championship or in the higher division, so that we've got some 18, 19-year-old players that we can send out get them loan experience playing first team football, and hopefully they'll come back a more finished article. I think last year it worked really well with the 6-month loan we originally did for Christian Hernandez. He came back a better player than when he left, and I want to try and do something similar again next season. It is why we've got a sort of smaller looking squad now, only 20 people in the first team squad now that we're just focusing on league games. It's a bit easier to kind of get everybody fit and ready to go for these matches. So I'd expect maybe the only thing we might see before the window closes is some of those players going out. We do also have already quite a few different players lined up for this off-season. If we look at the ones due to join in 2031, we've got Lars Torp, who we've spoken about in previous episodes. He's joining the next transfer window during the off-season. He's going to be fantastic for us. The first real deep line playmaker on defend as a standard role, which is going to be excellent. We've also got Vasco Varzeas, because I went through this brief spell where I just kept signing left wingers for some reason. He looks to be a very good player coming through Academica over in Portugal. He's making first team appearances now as well, so hopefully his development will have continued since we originally scouted and signed him. And then we've also got, a little bit later in July, Ronnie Senna, who is a Messiah. If you have a look here, this is what initially caught the eye with him. He's coming from Ajax, the first Ajax player that we've had. We are paying a little bit for him. We're going to pay £4 million, £1 million up front, and then £3 million over the next few years. He does equal our largest ever transfer paid, which I think was Samuele Benizzi a couple of years ago from Cagliari. I think when he joins and we're going to have a specialist Messiah alongside a specialist deep line playmaker on defend, it's going to help us quite a bit. You can see here, already at 17 years of age, and he was 16 when we agreed the contract, 16 passing, 16 work rate, looks to be excellent. If he's continuing to play for the young Ajax side, he may come as a much more finished article player once he does turn 18 and we can pick him up ahead of the next season. Can play as a Carriera, a Messiah, a box-to-box, a deep line playmaker. Like, that versatility in terms of player roles for someone so young is absolutely fantastic. So we've already got those guys joining, so I didn't want to overcommit to players this transfer window if we know down the track, a little bit further on, we're going to have other players come in that we want to try and give game time to. And I think that's the case. I think all three of those players we'd expect to maybe start in the first team next season. We've also got Eldon Hadzovic, who's going to come very later. I think he comes in January of next year, across from VfB Stuttgart. We haven't paid a tremendous amount for him either. He's kind of like the Wolf version 2, like the next version of the Wolf, a young German midfielder that we're going to use at the base of midfield. Hopefully he'll continue to grow and develop a little bit further. Only paid $400k for him. And we've got Johnny Hayes, 16-year-old Rangers striker, Scottish advanced forward that we're looking to bring across. He's got some excellent attributes already. I do want to use him as a pressing forward, which he also has wonderful attributes for. The hope is, given that he is currently still in Scotland, that by the time he rocks up in probably 2 years' time, as things currently stand, he is a much more complete player. And hopefully he's had some exposure to first team football as well. But because we've got these guys coming in, we're not looking at a tremendous amount during the next off-season other than these free transfers that I want to try and bring in. There are a couple other players, the ones that you can see down the bottom here, that we're just keeping an eye on, not doing anything with just yet. Just a couple of guys that I think look to be very good high prospects that we maybe can't afford or maybe aren't interested in coming across yet. I think Brian Anonye looks to be a very good left-back option, and left-back's an area where I think we've really struggled to get like a permanent player. Really going back to like our League 2 days when we had Kieran Preston Kelly and a few other players, that's always been kind of a difficult area for us. This guy's randomly dropped up, Mark Watson, young English keeper playing over in Sweden with Djurgårdens, and we might try and bring him back as a backup goalkeeper. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that we might do, but really for the moment, we're just focusing on getting scouting reports and full knowledge of all of these players whose contracts are up from some of the Premier Division sides at the end of the season. I think if we can bring them in, it's going to give our squad more depth. It's going to make our under-23 side more competitive. And given that we haven't had like a regen player come through the under-18s, I think looking towards that particular area isn't the best path forward. Anyway, that's what we're doing in terms of the end-of-season window. We'll jump forward now and have a look at the final transfers of the window, just to see if anything does come up. Right, so we are just at the end of the transfer window. There's a couple of hours to go. We haven't committed to actually doing like minute-by-minute updates for the transfer window. These are the scouting reports that came back for players whose contracts are up at the end of the season. There's a couple that have had bids put in. Emmanuel Ibrahim from Chelsea. Bournemouth's put an offer in for him. I don't think we're going to put an offer in. One, because I don't have the cash, but also I just don't think we want to be paying money for him. If I get him on a free, great. If I have to wait and try and get him an end of contract, that's fine as well. He's a central midfielder on defend. Can also maybe play at the number 6 role, but we're not really using either of those roles at present. So it probably doesn't make the most sense to be trying to bring him in just yet. Certainly not for the 500k that Bournemouth have offered. The big one that I want to keep an eye on here is Chris Cottrell, Everton under 23, he looks to be very, very good. 16 first touch, 16 pace, 18 agility. Some very good mental attributes here as well. 17 flair, jumps out at you immediately. He's an advanced forward who can maybe do a role as a pressing forward. He's got a lot of that ability, just doesn't have the finishing yet. But 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. His contract's actually up at the end of the season, which is why they've transfer listed him. I cannot seemingly offer him a contract yet, but St Johnstone over in Scotland has been able to. They are in the Premier Division of Scotland. I can't imagine, looking at some of their wages, that they're able to offer him a crazy amount. I think we might actually be able to match whatever wage offer they've done, but I don't think we can actually offer him a contract until after this transfer window closes. So that'll be one that we have to keep an eye on. Chris Cottrell may potentially be a player that we try and go after a little bit earlier in the offing, given that he's not going to sign a new contract with Everton and looks to kind of already have a bit of potential or current ability about him as well. Otherwise, very little business to speak of. We did manage to get Connor Carden out on loan. We're still trying to get Adam Andrews out on loan. We will actually offer him to clubs now on a loan offer end of next season. Let's go with that. And let's do the same with Marcos de Almeida, who joined in the start of January from his native Brazil. Just hasn't come across as the finished article that we really wanted him to be. He's good, he's decent, but I think he needs more first-team football before he's going to be ready for any appearances for the Isle of Man. He did play in that game against Huddersfield in the FA Cup and did really struggle, so just not where we need him to be right now. More than that from me though, let's jump ahead. Let's see what's happened in the final hours of the transfer window. Let's also go and have a look at the lineups for the game against Port Vale. Alright, so again, not where I thought we were going to come back, but Emmanuel Ibrahim, to finish off the transfer window, has signed for Bournemouth for 220k, 4.6k a week, which is fine. Like, I don't think we really wanted to go in for that amount for him. He's not that good, and really I only want to spend actual money on players that I think are going to actually play first team football, and I don't think he's there just yet. But the one that's really frustrating, well, first, Kubis has had a £9 million offer come in from Ipswich, who are currently 20th in the division and definitely getting relegated out of the Premier League this season, so I don't think that's really going to benefit him. We'll see if he starts getting upset by it. And Cottrell has signed for St Johnstone in Scotland for 1.6k a week for a player of that quality is absolutely mind-boggling, and we at no point were able to make an offer for him. So I'm not sure if that's just like because we're in England as well, we're not allowed to do it during a transfer window, or if it's just weird rules relating to Bosmans in different countries or whatever else. So unfortunately we missed out on him, but there are still quite a few players that I think we can look to try and bring on free transfers at the end of the year. But we're not the only ones with those ideas. You can see West Brom sniffing around a couple, Brentford sniffing around a couple, Birmingham and Sheffield both sniffing around. I know once Kelvin Saidu comes back from his loan, there'll be a few clubs looking to bring him in also. So we've got a little bit of stuff to do, a little bit of stuff to work on. And planning for our next season, regardless of whether it's Championship football or Premier League football, is already well underway. This time, we're going to jump ahead and have a look at the lineup against Port Vale. I promise this is the last time I lie to you about this, but I just wanted to bring you the last little updates. The deadline passed, which is fine. Player wage expenditure. Fulham, who we just played, £1.2 million a week. If you go down and have a look at Isle of Man, 74k per week. We are a full 15k less than the nearest neighbours in Middlesbrough, spending 89k a week, but just mind-boggling stuff there. If we look at the window roundup, Martin Calderon left Fulham to go to Shanghai in China for £49 million. Absolutely insane. And I think that's why they are continuing to be able to reinvest in their squad. They are just making some if we look at the Fulham transfer history, this season they've sold Tico to Brighton for 46.5, Calderon to Shanghai for 49 million, 19 million for Nathan Wood, 17.25 for Franca Tongaya. If you go back to last season as well, similarly, players going out for £16.5 million, £11.5 million the season before, £45 million for Tristan Daniels to Arsenal. Just some absolutely mind-boggling money. That Fulham Academy is making a fair bit of profit at the moment, but I think it just goes to show, yes, we're doing well, and yes, we're up towards the top of the division, but as far as the finances are concerned, the club facilities are concerned, we are miles away from some of the bigger teams, not just in this division, but in the Premier League as well. Alright, this time we're finally up to the game against Port Vale. It's an unchanged lineup for us. Dorba did come in for the injured Petrovic on that right-hand side, but he did play the majority of the previous game as well. Let's do it for the Wolf. He becomes our leading appearance maker in this game. We want to try and get 3 points desperately to keep up with the other sides at the top of the division. As far as Port Vale are concerned, they've only got two interesting players here, really. Ashley Barry, who played for us last season and was a massive pain in the arse, only made 6 first-team appearances, but acted like he should have been playing every single week. I don't think he was that good. But they're playing him as a central defender, which is where we trained him. He's a left wing back by trade. They've got Arnau Pugmal, who's a wonderful Spanish playmaker that you can pick up from Manchester United relatively early in saves once his contract's up. But a very, very talented player if you're looking for a midfield maestro of your own. Over on the left, their captain, Wallace, is their leading scorer for the season. He's a striker by trade. They're playing him as an inside forward on the left, it looks like. 25-year-old Wealth Youth International. It looks like he's been at Port Vale for a good few seasons. So they're 20th in the league. We should be beating teams like this. Assertively, we're going to say, just go out there, relax, play your natural game, the result will come. And let's also just tell Alton Miranda up top that we've got faith in him. I don't want his head to drop. He was in a great run of scoring form, which has kind of dropped off over the last month. But if we can get back to that, we're going to be in a great position. That game in hand does put us down to 5th spot. Quite a few teams you can see here on 60 points. We desperately want to try and pull away from the rest of those teams. First highlight of the game here is possession for Port Vale, though we are putting on a decent little press. Long ball forward, Sigurdsson with a good header. Monday's going to pick it back up for Port Vale. Resets back to McCarthy, the left back. Dorber does very well to win it back. Nice reverse pass there from Alton Miranda, sends Aguirre through. Hasn't got much of an angle to work with. He's clipped the post though, and then Morrison plays it back to Marquez, who hacks that one into touch. Lovely little reverse pass there between Alton Miranda and Aguirre on the overlap. We've got a highlight here. The Wolf on his big milestone match, back to Sigurdsson. Now Alton Miranda gives up possession, but it should be recovered by Escobar. Now the Wolf at the base of midfield sends it out left towards Illich, who can beat the man, skips past one challenge on the left-hand side, squares it back, sticks for Dorber, taps it home, 5th goal of the season for the English right winger, and we get ourselves open in this episode. The first goal, even though it feels like I've been talking for about 45 minutes, I'll have to edit most of it down. But a wonderful, wonderful little touch around the defender there. Illich just hangs it back post. Excellent run in behind, and Dorber, just to add a little bit of extra glamour to it, manages to clip the post on its way in. If he had missed or put that against the post, I would have been furious. Highlight continues here from the kickoff. Long ball forward from Barry isn't going anywhere. Kubas should recover. And Kubas, to his credit, hasn't gotten upset after he rejected that offer from Ipswich. Escobar now right to Benchop. Oh, he's given the ball away. Wallace has picked it up and steps inside. One, he didn't have much of an angle to work with. Straight at Kubas, who does very well to force over for the corner. First real striking angle that we've seen from Port Vale. They've got a corner here as well. Pumar to take. Good header away. The Wolf's going to recover and can send it up the line. And he doesn't do that. He cuts back inside as the highlight comes to an end. So looking around at other games, Bristol are currently winning their game 1-0 against Rochdale as well. That would see them go up into top spot. We need to get a couple of goals here. So we're going to use our Get Creative shout because it looks like goal difference is going to come into this massively in the run home. 2 minutes to be added on. We're through that now, and the referee calls half-time. So at half-time, they've had 2 shots, 2 on target, 43% of the ball. We've had 6, 3, and 57. Dressing room, I'm going to passionately say, very happy with the performance so far, but we're also going to tactically go to our attacking structure and really try and turn the screws here. I really want to go after it and get like a good 3-0, 4-0 win. If we do get a couple more goals, we could go second in the league again on goal difference. Madrigal, first highlighted second half, puts one back post. Header away is decent, and now Brown comes forward for Port Vale. Just stand him up, boys. No need to overcommit. The Wolf, with a wonderful tackle, wins it back for Illich. Aguirre sends it out right to the goal scorer, Dorber. Now Madrigal, we've got a 3v2 on the right if we work this correctly. Dorber out to Benchop, who pushes forward. Tries to get the reverse pass into midfield now. Finds Madrigal. Back to Escobar. Into the Wolf. Now Aguirre. Good little reverse pass to Alton Miranda. Finds Madrigal on the overlap and he gets the strike away, but it's straight at the keeper. Those are the sort of opportunities. While the interplay there to work that actual opportunity was fantastic. Off-ball running was great. We need to make sure we finish those chances, as well as chances like that from the corner. Escobar heading over from about 5 yards. Wide free kick here for Port Vale. It's pinballing around. Punnington got a strike away. Brown's not facing his goal. Just stand him up. Don't let him turn. It's excellent work there from Goodlife, who's recovered possession. And then the Wolf gives it away. Pulled back to Key. Now Pugmole and his strike. Didn't have a lot of pace on it, but had the keeper scrambling just past far post. I guess that's the danger of going to attacking. We do kind of invite a bit of pressure. We're through an hour now, so I'm going to hit pause. I'm going to make our subs here. The Wolf has struggled. I'm not going to take him off. Today's his episode. It's all about the Wolf. But Goodlife has a yellow card and is struggling, so I'm going to bring on Hernandez at left back. Madrigal hasn't had the greatest game. We'll bring on Christian Hendy. And then we might try and get a little bit of additional pace, either up front or on the wing. I can't decide what I want to do. Alton Miranda hasn't played poorly, but I might bring on Camara just for some fresh legs. Actually, oh God, I can't cancel it. I've already confirmed. Passionately, we're going to say our faith in you. Get out there. And let's also go and use our Get Creative shout, just to try and inspire a couple of these players to try and create an opportunity. Escobar and Sigurdsson, the two centre-backs, look pressured by that feedback, but really, we should be beating teams like Port Vale 3 or 4-0, not just by the solitary goal. Throw in here, left-hand side, into Aguirre. Good reverse pass to Dorber back stick, and he's got the double on the day. 6th goal of the season for him, and he has contributed fantastically well. I still think Petrovic is the starting right midfielder for us on that right-hand side. He's just fantastic whenever he plays, but Dorber has chipped in with some fantastic goals this season, and potentially, maybe we should be looking to keep him around next year. I originally had him down as a player that we might try and upgrade a little bit, but he has been absolutely fantastic for us. 10 minutes remain. We're going to use our demand more shout here, give everyone some focus through to full time. We do have a highlight here again on the right-hand side. Hendy, first involvement from him. Escobar brings the ball forward, back to Hendy again. The Wolf, lovely reverse pass to Aguirre, who finds Hernandez. Ball in is poor. Brown brings it back for Port Vale. They're playing around with it a little bit at the back here, all the way back to Marquez in goal, who then goes long. Wallace brings it down and turns. He is their leading scorer for the season. Someone's got to find him, and instead, he's played a reverse pass to Joel Gordon, who it looks like is going to be brought back for offside. Looked tight. I thought he was probably level with the ball player when it was played, but there's still a danger from Port Vale. 4 minutes to be added on. Is there going to be any late drama here to get us up the division? There isn't, as the referee calls full time. In the end, 2-0 victors. Dorber with the double. 11 shots, 5 on target, 59% possession. I shouldn't complain. A good win. Assertively, we're going to tell everyone, well done, lads. That was a good win for us. And it does see us stay in touch with all of those teams in and around that second spot. So 33 games played for us. A couple of teams now on 34. Stoke, Bristol City and Isle of Man all on 62 points. Bristol City and Isle of Man, that catch-up game is going to be absolutely massive. Stoke currently in the automatic promotion spot, only on goal difference, 1 goal ahead of us. If we had to maybe turn the screws a little bit more, we could have finished the episode in an automatic promotion spot. Dorber gets the Man of the Match award, very deserved, 9.0 match rating for his double. Let's give him a bit of praise as well. Always important that your squad players contribute quite a bit. Now, where does that put our February fixtures? We've got quite a bit of football coming, quite a few big games, including a massive fixture against Brentford and another massive one against West Brom. This kind of week-long period here from Bristol, Brentford and West Brom is going to be massive. But I think what we'll do is we'll play the Sheffield United game off-screen. I think we'll play the Bristol game off-screen as well. That catch-up match will be important, but we will do a bit of a review before we play the game against Brentford, and we will finish off next episode with a top-of-the-table clash playing first place West Bromwich Albion. Hopefully trying to reel them in a little bit as the season goes on. But it does set us up nicely for another huge episode this week. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's a shame that we couldn't get 6 points in this episode for the Wolf, but we know Fulham are a very good side and going to be continuing to challenge in and around that automatic promotion talk. But the great thing about Football Manager is we get the opportunity to go again, and we'll do that in tomorrow's episode. If you want to be kept up to date on an episode when it's released, you can subscribe to the channel. If you want to help celebrate the Wolf becoming the all-time leading appearance maker for the club, you can drop a like on this video just to help the channel a little bit. It gets our videos higher up in the YouTube search results when people actually look for Football Manager content, which I, of course, appreciate as we continue to grow the community and the channel itself. You can check out those links just over on that side if you want to go that extra mile, be a little bit more involved either on Twitter or Twitch. But more than anything, thank you so much for watching. That's the part I appreciate the most. I've been Sean, and I'll see you all again in the mixer.